Right, so thank you. So as I said just at the very beginning, I've taken over as project leader this year. Dr. Jennifer Liston was project leader before me, but I've taken it over this year. And obviously there are plenty of people working with me. So within our Ubuntu project this year, we have Hugh Bergen working with us, Dr. Gavin Murphy working with us, and we have kind of changed things around a little bit as well from what we previously had. So if I were to take the CAME standards and kind of apply them nearly as a template to what we're currently doing, some of it would fit and some of it would need to be looked at and kind of move. So currently in our Ubuntu project this year, we have an explicit development education elective module, which is a 5 ECTS module. So our PME students get the opportunity to select from 5 electives. The 5 electives are development education, citizenship in education, numeracy and literacy, drama in education, and Irish traditional music. And we always have a really good uptake on the development education module. Citizenship in education is also quite popular as well. And there's a nice crossover in some ways between both of those. So that module runs throughout semester 1. Hugh Bergen delivered a lot of that module this year with guest speakers. I know Jerry Jeffers is here with us today. I know Jerry was one of the guest speakers that Hugh had on that. But it is an elective module. So by that, it means that not every year 1 PME student actually gets to experience it in an explicit way. We do also offer an opportunity to our PME 1 and 2 geography and modern foreign language pedagogy students to participate in development education sessions. And in this semester, we will be having a dialogue day where they will participate in that, and that involves the pedagogy leaders, the strand leaders, Dr. Anne Devitt and Brendan O'Shea from the geography, Hugh Bergen involved in that. So that's kind of always been, for the last number of years, funded through the Ubuntu network, our development education experience for our students. But this year, looking at, we kind of felt, look, we really need to think about our other teacher education students and our student teachers, and we need to be more inclusive, you know, for them as well. So we've, in the project proposal this year, we've also added in we have an undergraduate BMOZ program, and obviously we have our postgraduate PME program. So I teach sociology of education and the module coordinator for that. So within the sociology of education module, which is a foundations module, we have integrated into that our citizenship aspect. So within it, we're covering social justice, equity and equality, culture and capital, interculturalism, gender and education, family norms, roles and values. And some of those aspects we would have covered previously within the sociology of education, but within this iteration of it, which will actually start next Tuesday evening, we have an enhanced emphasis on the role of GCE within that, and also it's open to all our students. So all of our IT students will get the experience, the GCE experience within their IT programme from this year on, whereas previously it was limited to those who elected for it, or if you were an MFL or a geography student. So the students are quite you know, excited about the fact that it will be integrated into the sociology module. I suppose one thing I would say from experience within the foundation module is the undergrad students, the concurrent students, tend to find sometimes the foundation modules challenging in their own right. And obviously the learning outcomes are set at a different level because they're level 8 to what the postgrad PMEs are at. And we have to be mindful of that as well with them. And then the other aspect of it, obviously, within the current academic year, and again, this will work going forward with CAME, the school placement aspect, both for PME and BMOZ. So we use, with the PMEs, we use a reflective practice, we use Brookfield lenses as the reflective practice framework, and we'd like to get them to, I suppose, extend on that slightly and add in not maybe an additional lens, but also to be more reflective in terms of their global citizenship aspect as well. So you can hop to the last slide actually, Deirdre, because that third one is just blue, which is underpinning. So if we were to look forward, which is kind of what our thinking is from today, and evidence, and really the onus on us as teacher educators and HEIs will be obviously to construct the programme and to create the possibilities and facilitate the learning. But we do obviously have to look for the evidence that the learning has happened. And we talked earlier about this and in the previous presentations, you know, about how we go about looking for that evidence. Sometimes when we give scope for creativity, you know, it can be more difficult to actually find the evidence. When you find it, it's brilliant, but sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult to do it. So we have to be careful that whatever we do as we move forward in our programme with CAME, that we make it doable and we make it attainable for the students. So ultimately, we'll be trying to capture and document the learning across the programme, both through the formal assessment process, and I liked the phrase earlier about assessment sometimes being seen as the tail that wags the dog, but also informally through conversations in modules, discussion boards and interactive webinars. And I suppose the sociology piece, you know, really speaks to that in terms of the agency of our student teachers, and indeed our agency as teacher educators as well, and our role in, you know, embedding those values and beliefs within them. We'll also look, and we're building on the artefacts that we're very fortunate to have, having had Ubuntu funding for the last number of years, the creation and publication of exemplars of practice of integration. So how it might look, you know, and how those could be shared, even as open access resources that other teacher educators could share, that the network already shares, but that they would be available for people to tap into as open access pieces from the sociology of education module, in the pedagogy modules in particular. Okay, and how we embed it into pedagogy and across school placement modules. And one striking aspect within CAME in terms of school placement, there is now a possibility that, you know, the settings, there can be a variety of settings that students can undertake placement or aspects of placement in. So that now will include further education, even primary settings for post-primary and vice versa. And notwithstanding the challenges I know will come with that from my school placement experience, I think that's a huge opportunity for us to, you know, basically for our students to see, you know, and embed the GCE across the various education settings. We tend, and we've always had to do this in the past, to have been very mainstreamed and within the mainstream setting, but now we have an opportunity to go broader with that, and you know, I think that'll be a big opportunity. I just mentioned earlier the inclusion of Brookfield doesn't have a GCE lens, but we might invent one. All right, the inclusion of a GCE lens into the reflective practice aspect of the student teachers' reflections, both on school placement and within micro-teaching. And then, you know, another idea that we're thinking of, the development of a student-led and a staff support to GCE podcast, all right, that would roll out over time through the prism of the lived experiences of our undergrad and postgrad students. Because again, I said it earlier, where students are given ownership and responsibility, and I know the previous projects have evidenced this, the you know, the creativity with criticality, you know, underpinning it is incredible. So it's not us as such as teacher educators, it's about the students learning in the end of the day, and what better way but to give them the ownership over it. So that's probably what we're thinking as we move forward, you know, and we do think we're in a good position, you know, as I said at the beginning. So I hope I've covered it there, Deirdre. I've kind of cut it a little bit, but I hope that's been helpful.